Initial thought on the governor's debate is like, I don't know who won. There was a lot more overlap in some foundational stuff, like root problems between the Democrats and the Republicans than I was expecting. Particularly, Becerra had a lot to say about infrastructure, which is something that Hilton and Bianco leaned a lot into. Tom Steyer and Bianco and Hilton overlapped at certain points. Like, there were some issues that I think were, like, in a way, grounded in something nonpartisan, which was interesting. I think Katie Porter kind of gives off like a Democratic Dolores Umbridge, which is weird because a lot of what she has to say sounds good, but she just, hate to say it, like really doesn't come across as likable. And it sucks to say that about the woman, but it's true. Javier Becerra, sweet man, it just seems like he is not a shark in debates which are like Shark Tank environments of politicians being like sharks, sneaky, bitey sharks. On that note, Matt Mahan came across the best as a politician. He was very articulate. His timing was absolutely down. He, had kind of an answer to everything, even the non-answers. He like structured well enough that they didn't feel like a non-answer. And I think he kind of presented the most polished politician look. Tom Steyer, the anti-billionaire billionaire, his energy is just a little old heady. I don't know. He comes across as old. He comes across as well-intentioned, but he comes across as old. Javier Becerra, again, he has the most government experience. He's taken on Trump like 122 times. He's like won a whole bunch of lawsuits, has had a lot of really high-ranking positions in government. And I think he is the most experienced, but he's perhaps not the most experienced in this kind of forum because he stumbled over his words a little bit. He seemed a little bit less confident than some of the other candidates. And I think that's okay. I think, despite the fact that debate has long been a way that we judge candidates against each other, I think in the political showmanship that we've started to understand as American politics, debates are kind of just another example of how people can propagandize and how people can convince you of something that isn't necessarily true. So a candidate showing up as like not a super polished politician in a debate, I think is actually a mark that benefits them as opposed to works against them. Seeing humanity and a little bit of nervousness with a track record to back up the fact that you know how to get shit done is forgivable for me. Chad Bianco made some interesting points. He definitely has some conviction in everything that he says. He just doesn't seem like a good guy. He's got a pretty bad vibe. I don't know. Steve Hilton, I was surprised by some of the stuff that he had to say because it did seem very reasonable. Was kind of on par with a lot of the stuff the Democrats were saying. And then he was like, actually, we need to reverse every environmental protection ever. Fuck it all. And I was like, no, never mind. Also, at the very end, they asked a question that was supposed to be like lighthearted because it was on streaming. The way that they structured this was so crazy because it was like the first hour of the debate was live on TV. And the last half hour was only on streaming. So they did a push to streaming, which is like, I messaged some of my news friends. I was like, this is either going to be a tremendous payoff, like this is a huge bet they're taking that they will keep people for that other half hour and or that they will be able to push them onto a streaming platform. So it's like either this is going to be a huge mistake and a failure, or it's going to be a win for their marketing team that are trying to push people to streaming and get those dollars. So I don't know how that's going to shake out. I'm very curious, but I stayed on for the whole thing. I watched the whole thing on YouTube because who has TV anymore? But at the very end, they asked the candidates, like, what was the most recent thing you streamed? And they all like kind of gave their show, and then it like looped around to Javier Becerra, and he was like, I'm sorry, I wish I had time to watch TV. Like, I don't really do that. And it was like, okay, that's, bummer. We were looking for the fun answer, but like respectable, you're a busy man. You got other priorities. And then Chad Bianco said the exact same thing in a way that was like so much more harsh. It was like, I don't watch TV. I don't have time to watch. Like, it was just a very significant contrast between the two of them in their general demeanors. The bad sheriff with the big mustache versus the, sweet, quiet, reserved, long-standing government fellow that is not a showmanship politician. So, yeah, I don't really know of the Democrats who won. I don't really know who gave the best performance there, or maybe won the most support for themselves. I'm a little concerned that Becerra's performance might have drawn some people away from him because he certainly doesn't seem to be the most progressive on a lot of the hot button progressive issues. But he does seem to be very grounded in democratic principles and very grounded in the pillars of the values of the Democratic Party. And so that's endearing and seems trustworthy to me. Matt Mahan, I think, could have won some support because he was a very smooth talker. And if that's how people are receiving information about this, then that could have worked to his benefit. Katie Porter, again, had some good stuff to say. But on the point where, they asked her a very pointed question about her behavior, all of her viral video moments where she's seen freaking out on staffers and on a friend of mine, a reporter. And she took accountability for freaking out on the staffer, but didn't take accountability for freaking out at my reporter friend. And I thought that was maybe not a good look for her because, maybe not everybody understands what it's like to be on the reporter side of that. But for those of us that do, we can see very clearly how you were in the wrong. I don't know that Tom Steyer said anything that's going to win him any support. I think he ran over on his time limits a lot of the time. It seemed like he had more that he wanted to say than he was trained for. Of the Republicans, I could see Bianco edging out Hilton, but I don't think that would be the right choice for the party. That would be a MAGA thing. But Trump didn't endorse Bianco. So, I mean, for one thing, British, weird, Fox TV, Fox News host, zero experience. But maybe that's why Trump endorsed him, because it's he could be a populist Republican candidate to swoop in to California to make California great again. He came up with this phrase, Calafordable. That's his tagline, make California something. At this point, Mahan seems pretty conflicted with his tech company special interests. Katie Porter just might not have the temperament for it. And we've seen that. And she does seem very buttoned up. And I don't know. Her vibe is off. The aura's off. I think it's going to be between Becerra and Steyer. That's my guess. I'll do more thorough breakdowns on all of the candidates now that the field is a little bit more narrow. But this is what I'm thinking for tonight. If you want my full update tomorrow with a breakdown of what each candidate said on each particular issue, subscribe to my texting channel, because I'll be dropping that information tomorrow morning. And follow me here for more real talk on the California governor's race.